Hello, this is Community Conversations. I'm Doris Ballard, your host. This is a production of Concord Community TV, Concord TV's podcast and TV production, Channel 22 on local cable television, or on yourconcordtv.org. I'm very pleased today to have a very prominent individual in our community who has dedicated his pretty much entire life to education and continues to do so as the President of the Concord District School Board. And with that, I'd like to welcome Clint Cogswell. How are you, Clint?
Fine, thanks, Doris.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the program today.
No problem.
I am probably like most parents or grandparents or people in the community that has a little bit of information about the school board, not having any in school right now, but I have an interest in it, and I have a lot of questions for you that I hope that we can answer for the people that are listening or watching today.
Well, I'll do my best.
All right. Well, you're the perfect person to give me the answers, that's for sure.
Yes.
Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about you, because I mentioned at the top of the show that you have a very, your life has been dedicated to education. You were a teacher and a principal. Tell us a little bit about your experience in elementary schools.
I was a third grade teacher in Arlington, Massachusetts. I just love that. I went to school in Colorado, but my wife's from the East, and we met in Colorado, and she wanted to come back to New England, so I followed.
That happens a lot.
That does. But I loved my stretch in Arlington, a nice community, and I applied for the job here in Concord for Kimball School as principal. And I'm thinking it was 1981. And I was at Kimball and Dewey School for a number of years. And then I moved in 1991 to Walker School and retired in 2005.
And so it's a natural for you to want to continue serving because with your experience, to go from being a teacher, a principal, to being on the school board. What really was the main reason why that motivated you to run originally?
Well, it's funny. I never thought of running for the school board, and the assistant superintendent, Rob Perol, was head of special ed and then an assistant superintendent. He called me one day and he said, "You know, no one's running for a one-year position for the school board. Would you ever consider it?" And I said, Rob, I've never thought about it. And but I put my name in and I ran, and I enjoyed it, and I think that it was a big help to have someone with as much background in education. And actually, I was here even before Chris Rath, the superintendent. So
really?
Between the two of us, we had a lot of knowledge.
A lot of knowledge
tradition.
and history, right?
Yes.
And so you were there for 1 year, and then. So obviously you were motivated to run again because
for the three-year position. That's right.
Three-year position. What was it in that first year that made you feel like I have to keep doing this?
Well, it was exciting to know that we were looking at the schools, but also I was the first year on the school board. I was the head of the instructional committee, and at that time we had to do a lot of research on whether we were going to put in an all-day kindergarten. Believe it or not, this was a long time ago.
They're still talking about that. Right?
Well, it subsided for a while, and now it's back again.
Right.
But the extensive research we did on it, and the level of, I thought, skills that the people on that was a 4-people committee, brought to the top. I thought, this is exciting, doing research and education, and my background helped talk about what historically we've done. But at the time, we decided that from what we could read on the research is that the money better spent on keeping class sizes lower in the first, second, and third grade, and the outcomes later in school were better with lower class size than full-day kindergarten. That was the research 8 years ago. I think we're going to revisit that soon.
It seems like the school board is broken up in different committees.
That's right.
And so how many committees are part of the school board?
Well, we've got the instructional committee, the facilities committee. Facilities is just what it sounds like. Communications committee has two jobs. One is to do the policies that we have on the board. Every legislative session, some new law comes down that we have to change our policy to be in compliance. And a lot of our policies are outdated. So they do that, but the other big factor they have is that they hear all the grievances from the different organizations in our school system, the different unions that reach the school board level, and that's the job of the communication committee. So it's actually a pretty big job. It's not like we have a lot, but when we do, they are the ones that deal with that.
Sounds like it.
We have the finance committee, which meets a lot to talk about different changes that we have to do.
What is the budget for the school board?
What, how much
The
money?
district?
It's about $78 million.
Now, this is a good time to say to the public that when you get your tax bill, that it is city and the school district. So they're separate. And the school district's autonomous.
That's right. It's autonomous, but when the taxes, the property taxes collected in Concord go to four sources. One is the county.
Right.
One is the city. One is the school board. And then the state that uses the adequacy grant to give money back to the district collects all their money through property tax also. So the state thought, well, we'll support public education, but they take the money through property tax. So you get hit with four different areas to be taxed. But let's get back to fiscal autonomy.
Okay.
We do have that, and we're the only school system in the state that has fiscal autonomy. We don't have to go to the city council to have our budget approved.
In your estimation, what is the benefit to that?
Well, I don't know why other school districts don't do that, and I'll give you a reason why. We start going over the budget in January, and we hit 2 meetings a week all the way through January, February, and most of March. And it's complex, hard work. The city has the same process for their budget. It's complex, hard work. Now imagine going through all that work, making a recommendation, and the city that hasn't seen any of this decides that cut it 2%. What are they talking about? They don't have any idea. Our city council does not want anything to do with the school budget.
I can't even imagine the time they'd have to put into that. It would be double, if not triple.
Yeah, they can't. There's no way they can.
And then they don't have the background. They'd have to hone in on the background.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, you know, if it ever got to the point where the community thought that there needed to be an additional checks and balances, or they thought the school board was being outrageous, then I think that maybe they should do that. In kind, if the city was getting out of hand, maybe they should pass their approval of their budget to our school board. That doesn't make any sense, but it's the same logic.
Well, if you're just tuning in, my guest is Clint Cogswell. He is the president of the Concord School Board, and this is Community Conversations. And I'm Doris Ballard, your host. We're a podcast and on Community TV, yourconcordtv.org. All right, now, so the responsibilities of the school board are many. You've just said it through the committees, and most of the work, is it done on the committees and then brought to the entire board monthly?
The committees are all yes. All of our work for the most part is done during committee, and I might add that CCTV records all of our committee work and our school board meetings. So and they're all available online. So.
Thank you, yes.
If you're curious of what happened in a finance committee or an instructional committee, you can go online and go to CCTV and get a link and watch that meeting.
Right, and that is of great benefit to the public. I've been told the city council, planning, zoning, and you have your committees.
That's
your
right.
Committees are all on.
That's right.
And also we have to say that there is a student who you hire to tape the meetings and
That's right.
as a director. So that is a great opportunity for the student to learn.
Well, we always have 1 or 2 students at every meeting, and they do all of the taping and editing, and they do a marvelous job,
great.
and they're good kids,
They are.
and it is good experience.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely. And it's a great help to the staff at Concord TV, too. We don't have to hire a person just
Yeah.
to do that,
Yeah.
but we do put it on the air, and it's very helpful.
Yes.
So I encourage anyone who's listening or watching that you can go watch them on yourconcordtv.org if you don't get the channel, and stay in touch with what's happening if you have children in the school district. That's imperative.
And because of the state is big about being open.
Right. Transparency.
Transparency.
Right.
And even if you don't want to watch it, all of the minutes for all of our meetings, including are online also, so that you could go online and read just the minutes if you didn't want to sit through them.
But the public can attend your meetings anytime. It's open to the public.
Anytime, and we're always open to comments at any meeting.
And I'd encourage people to go to the website for the Concord School District. And by the way, type in Concord NH, because I get Concord Mass a lot when I go to look for it. And just
You can
Google,
get Concord all over the country.
I
That's
know
right,
it.
exactly.
Okay, many accomplishments that I personally, as a resident and taxpayer, have seen that I'm pretty proud that's been happening. The new schools.
Yes.
I mean, you have to feel really good about. There was so much controversy about them during
right.
the study days, and people wanted to keep their neighborhood schools. Not to go back to that, but today, fast forward to today, and how the success of those new schools has been.
I walked through those schools, and I'm so impressed. And even after a couple of years of them being open. And the fact that we were able, because we built the schools, if you remember, during the deepest of this last recession.
Yes.
And that gave us a couple of benefits. One is that all of our schools came in well under bid, and the interest rates were so low that helped. And because of past boards setting money aside, we were able to build a school without any raise in the tax rate.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
And then on time.
Well, on time.
Yeah.
And we did get state building aid. We're looking at Runlet now, but
Right.
state building aid is not available, and I can't see it being available in the near future. So,
Let's talk a little bit about that and how that impacts teachers and ultimately the entire community. So, I mean, you're not getting that, we're getting the downshift now. The cities are being affected, municipalities are, school districts are, in the state here are getting this downshift of the retirement share.
yes. We, every year we sit down and we go over the budget and we try to anticipate what the state is going to do next to downshift.
Do you have a crystal ball? Is that
No,
I don't know what
but
other
it's
way.
usually legislation
Sure.
that's going through. And so we have to anticipate sometimes, but the last 3 or 4 years, it used to be, and first of all, the state set up the New Hampshire retirement system.
Exactly.
And they set up all the things that have to happen to it. It's underfunded now, and everybody knows that. It's like every other state in the union. But also the state decided they didn't want to put money into it. The teachers put some, the city put some, and the state put some money into it. And the state, with all their infinite wisdom, decided that they wanted to balance their budget, so they were just going to cut out their share. Well, the share just doesn't go anywhere. It has to be funded, so it goes to the city. And we've had to raise our tax rate on 3 years at about 1% or 2% just to adjust that retirement system. It's been hard to deal with, and it means we've cut other places to try to compensate for that. And the federal government has always said that they would fund special education at 40-some%. They've never come close to that, ever. And so
the district has to pick up the
what they will not reimburse us, so
right.
we have to provide the services. They always define what you have to do.
Right.
The state tells us what the retirement system has to do. They even tell us what the increases are going to be, and it's a separate individual group that manages the retirement system. But they say what we should do next year to keep the fund going. And it's always a raise, and now it's always a raise because the teachers in contract only contribute so much. So it always dumps right on the city taxpayer, that's unfortunate.
So how long does it take a school board member who's new to learn the budget?
Well, you know, I think, Doris, we're talking about shows down the road where we'll talk to about different aspects of school board work.
So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. But I think one of the interesting topics, we'll bring a new school board member that's been around just a little bit, because I know even my first year when we were talking about the budget, of course, something, I went through the budget. I was a principal in the district, so I didn't have to learn as much. But when we were building the new school, every week or every month we had a new bonding schedule. We had to learn about bonding and all of that stuff. I felt like I took a graduate course in bonding, and I didn't want to take a graduate course in bonding. That's way over my head. Wow. But it was real interesting. I learned a lot, and I think everybody that comes onto the board after they've been there about 2 or 3 years, they'll tell you how much it took to learn, almost a whole period or a whole session of 3 years to get acclimated.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So just when they're getting ready, by the end of their term, they're probably ready to hit the ground running, really.
Well, then they have to decide whether they're going to run again.
Right,
yes,
right.
And,
if you're just tuning in to Community Conversations, my guest today is Clint Cogswell. He is the president of the Concord School District Board. And now let's talk a little more about some of the exciting things that you are working on, the technology, for instance. There's a whole new approach now in teaching, I'm sure.
There is, and it's really become obvious in the elementary schools where we've had iPads for about 5 or 6 years now. You can walk into some of the classes, and of course not all the teachers are using it as much as they could, but they're still doing a nice job in their fashion. But the people who are using the technology, it's remarkable to see what the kids are learning. So now we're moving up through the grade levels, and next year we're going to try to put all of our resources into Concord High School. And this summer, I mean not this summer, but this school year, over the vacations and stuff, we're going to have an organization come in and upgrade the Wi-Fi at the high school. We went to Oyster River to see how they did that at their high school, and they had a company that, you know, the teachers were just really thrilled about. Where our Wi-Fi at the high school, if you're a teacher and you go to make a plan and you have students with 25 iPads or 25 Chromebooks, and you go to do a lesson and it doesn't work, all you want to do is take that cart and throw it out.
Talk about frustration.
Yeah,
right.
throw it out the window. Anybody that's tried to do a PowerPoint or anything, when it doesn't work, it just is no fun.
It's a beautiful thing when it works,
yes,
but when it doesn't, right.
That's right.
And it's frustrating for the students too.
So we're going to high school is going to be ready next year for whatever initiative we made. And we're not sure what that initiative is going to look like, but we have 2 experiments going that's just started. And 2 classes, all these are 9th grade classes, we bought Chromebooks, and the people don't know what a Chromebook is. It's like a tablet, except it's a Google operating system, and it is not near as fancy as a laptop, but it's very functional in schools anyway. You open it, it opens right up. We use Google Docs in our school system because it's free. Our Google email is free. And teachers can collaborate, and students can collaborate on Google Docs, and they can change it.
It's like cloud-based.
Cloud-based,
right.
Exactly, cloud-based. All of their information
You can get it from anywhere.
That's right. All their information is stored on their account on the cloud. But anyway, we bought 50 Chromebooks, and we are giving them to the kids in the one class and the other class. The teachers are going to work with them. The parents have been notified that their child's going to be coming home with their own Chromebook.
Who's going to teach the parents to help them with their
homework?
homework?
Well, the first thing is the parents got to realize that when the child shows up with a Chromebook, they didn't borrow it from someone, or that it's theirs for this experiment. Wow. Then 2 other classes we're looking at it a little differently. We're not providing the equipment. We're asking the parents to let the students bring whatever device they have, whether it be an iPad, and we're even letting them try with phones.
Right.
And a lot of kids have phones, or laptops, or whatever device they do have. And if for kids that do not have anything to bring in, we have iPads in our media center that we can give to the children
Right.
for this experiment, students. It should finish mid-January. We want to finish before finals so that it doesn't mess up finals. And then we'll do an analysis and see what it might look like. First, is it working?
Right.
And second, what was the better approach? If we have to buy each child a Chromebook, that's expensive. But we might look at the possibility of letting parents through the school buy something like a Chromebook at a reduced price and over 4 years or something. And it is actually the child's Chromebook or iPad
Right.
or whatever system that we use.
So that's a really big challenge for the school board, is to kind of plan when technology changes so quickly.
Yes.
I mean, it could be a 5-year plan years ago. Now it's probably a 1 to 2 year plan or
Well,
3-year plan.
the thing we know for sure, where education is going anyway, is it's going to the internet, like everything else.
Right.
So accessing the internet, if you've got a device to do that, you can keep up. That's where the change is coming. How you use it and all of that is, we buy textbooks now. We still buy textbooks, believe it or not. I don't think that's long in the future before it's not too far in the future before we end that process. And
That everything will be on a device.
A device, that's right. So we got to be ready for that. And so this is why this experiment's
Right.
working. And whatever we decide now, you're right. In 5 years, it's going to be different. But in 20 years, I bet you it looks nothing like what we see right now.
Absolutely.
Because just let's go back 20 years.
Right.
The
Right.
internet wasn't even around 20 years ago.
Right. I know. It's crazy. All right. Well, if you're just listening in or tuning in, this is the podcast for Concord TV's production of Community Conversations. I'm Doris Ballard, the host, and my guest today is Clint Cogswell, Concord School Board President. And I think you're going to hear a lot more, from Clint. And with that, I want to talk a little bit about our new superintendent.
Just a minute, a bigger initiative that
Okay.
we're doing is competency-based
Yeah,
education.
I did want to talk about that.
But,
right.
if we don't get to that, I want to say that that's a much bigger
And that's such
initiative.
that's such a complicated, for me as a grandparent, we were talking before the show, and I'm sure for many parents, what does that all mean? So in
Yes,
a nutshell, could you tell us what that
Well,
is?
what it is, I even have an example that's pretty good because my grandson now is a 9th grader. But traditionally in my day, and you took an algebra course and you got a grade, and you got the grade in algebra for the semester was maybe a 75, or higher, lower, but it never told you what that child knew in algebra. Competency-based education is knowing certain skills and being, you have to prove you know those skills. And I'll give you an example now. My grandson is a very good math student. He's in the advanced geometry program as a freshman. But I check on the internet, and he got a 47 on a test. So I wrote his teacher and said, what was Hunter absent? What was going on that day that he got a 47? She said, I don't know. That's just so unlike Hunter. But what he had to do is take the skills that were taught in that test, and during a study or his own time, you can go to the library at Concord High School, and there's a math tutor there. And you had to go through each one of those skills, prove that you got a check mark that you knew it, and then you had to take a similar test over again. He got 100 in it.
Wow.
And instead of Hunter having to get 300s to bring that 47 up, he got 100 in that section, and his grade was 97. But what that 97 tells you is that he knows all the skills.
I see.
It's a much different concept.
What about the students who are having a difficulty, let's say, in math, who are really, it's not clicking for them?
Well, that's where the tutors and all of the extra work that we have. In algebra in 9th grade, I don't know how much time you have, but in algebra in 9th grade, we are always having trouble getting students through that. Some students through that. So we have set up a course now where the students can take 9th grade algebra, but if they're struggling, there's a half class following that they can be part of, and they can come in and out of that class. But it's another half credit course that is being taught by math teachers that help those kids that are struggling.
So that's a whole topic in of itself. We could do a whole show just on that, and even then right.
We
right.
assure sure that is
Okay.
a huge transition, and we're making it slowly because
Right.
I didn't understand it as a school board member. I had to go through a number of meetings till they made that clear.
And this is why Concord TV is very excited about the possibility of helping to the school, helping you and our new school superintendent, Terry Forston, to communicate more, to reach out more through using our resources.
Well, when you and I talked about this, Doris, that's exactly what we wanted to do. Is we've got a lot of information, and some people at school board doesn't zero in on a topic, and even sometimes the committees don't. But it's nice to just come in, sit down for a half hour, and talk about a certain issue.
One topic as opposed to like what we're doing now, just an overview.
That's
right?
that's
Okay.
why with the overview is nice, but as I said to you, there's so many wonderful things going on. I'd like to
There
bring
are.
students sometimes to tell you about
Absolutely.
some of the things that are going on. I don't know how many languages are spoken at our Concord High School, but I think it's somewhere around 39 languages.
This is one of the things at Concord High, because we have one of our facilities, of course, in Concord High. Our main offices are there in studio, and we see so much diversity today.
Yes.
It's exciting. It really is.
Well, that's the excitement.
Right.
And we've got a Be to Change club at the high school that is cool.
Right.
I just like the community
Right.
to know all the wonderful things that are
Exactly.
happening in our schools.
So this is just the beginning right
It
now.
is.
If
That's right.
you're just tuning in, Clint Cogswell is my guest as School Board President for the Concord School District. And we are here to support, having said all of that, we're here to support the new superintendent, Terry Forston. We're here to support the school board at Concord TV, and we know that we'll be able to do that because, again, as a grandparent, I am so confused in trying to help my granddaughters with math or the new ways of learning that I can only imagine as a parent.
Yes.
In my day with my children, I would have been very at a loss sometimes. So it's good. This is great.
And one of my main goals is what you said in the very beginning is communication.
Communication.
Communicate to our community and to our parents what's going on, and so they're well informed. And our grandparents.
Exactly, because today grandparents are probably more hands-on than
Well,
ever before, and a lot of us are raising the helping
I
to
just
raise.
sent my grandson an email that I'll be home shortly because he goes to our house
So there you
and
go.
does his homework at our house.
And that's a gift, I'll tell
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, I
Right.
love it.
Final comments from you, Clint? Anything you'd like to share with
No,
our
Doris,
audience?
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
When I say that, when you walk away, you think about a bunch of things. We had never
Right.
talked about Terry,
Right.
our
But,
new superintendent, but we will because she's new on the job, and I meet with her every week, and we talk about the different things, and she's excited to be here and realizes just what a big job it is. And she also knows that following such a great superintendent like Chris Rath is not an easy job.
Well, it sounds like she's up to the task.
So
we
far,
have
she's
met
been
her,
wonderful.
and she has amazing support from you, Clint, and from the school board. So she's starting out with a bang, with a good group of people behind her.
Well, she said that one of the big draws of the Concord community is the support this community gives to its school system.
And that's what we're here to do at Concord TV. So
That's right.
having said that, thank you, Clint Cogswell, President of the Concord School Board, for being on Community Conversations. And I want to thank whoever is listening or watching on yourconcordtv.org, channel 22, on our podcast or our TV online as well. People from around the world can actually tune in, Clint. And it's a new time in communication.
It is.
All right. Thank you very much for being on the
Oh,
program.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
And
Doris.
for all you do.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks.
And thank you, and have a wonderful day.